First with Bulbbul and now with Qala, writer-director Anvitaa Dutt continues to carve her own subgenre. Perhaps we can label it the feminist fantastical. These films are portraits of women who take extreme measures in extreme circumstances. Anvitaa frames these tales of damaged, broken souls with exquisite visual design. Both Bulbbul and Qala are period films which gives her the license to embellish reality with a flourish that rivals the Baroque of Sanjay Leela Bhansali. With the help of DOP Siddharth Diwan and production designer Meenal Agarwal, Anvitaa creates signature worlds filled with beauty and horror, one enhancing the other. The tragedy and triumph of Anvitaa's women plays out with exquisite aesthetics. Qala is the story of a fragile and fractured playback singer. That she is named Qala, art, is the first indication of the great expectations she shoulders. That name is given to her by her mother Urmila, who is herself a celebrated but thwarted artist. Urmila pushes Qala to excel with methods sadistic enough to match J.K. Simmons' Fletcher in Whiplash. Early in the film, there's this scene of piercing sadness. During one of their Riyaz sessions, Qala makes a mistake, and Urmila's punishment is so simple and yet so horrifying that you almost admire its blunt efficacy. The two live in this sprawling Gothic home in wintry Himachal Pradesh. These scenes were shot in Gulmarg. The desolate, icy landscape reflects their relationship, frozen into this toxic mix of resentment, hurt, desperation, loneliness. Into this fraught atmosphere arrives Jagan, and often with a voice so glorious that he seems to be communing with God. Jagan's talent, uninhibited and ferocious, turns the screws further, and Qala embarks on a journey from which there is no return. The film is set in the 1930s and 40s, and the action alternates between Qala's home in Himachal and the film industry in Calcutta. Urmila is insistent on mentoring Jagan's ascent in show business, but as it turns out, it is Qala who becomes the star. The film opens with her winning a coveted award, but the flashbulbs and applause can't fill the abyss within Qala. In fact, Anvitaa uses the flashing cameras to punctuate Qala's rising dread. The blinding lights accentuate her anguish. The mother-daughter relationship is the film's spine, but Anvitaa layers in much more. For starters, this is a film invested in addressing mental health, especially that of women.
Mama, something's wrong with me, Mama.
Qala is self-aware enough to ask for help. She speaks of the shore in her head, the dar in her heart. She says, "Andar jaise kuch toot raha hai." But the doctor simply gaslights her, saying, "Ladies logon mein hota hai." Like Chaitanya Tamhane's The Disciple, Qala also asks what is the price that an artist is willing to pay in the pursuit of perfection. Urmila sacrifices her humanity, Qala even more. The film industry is brutal, especially for women. Most of the men in the narrative are opportunistic, condescending, or just rapacious. It's the women who provide comfort, from Qala's female secretary or this female music composer. The film highlights the double standards and casual disdain with which the men in power treat women. The really awful thing is that some of these scenes, ostensibly taking place over 80 years ago, reflect a reality that persists even today. National award-winning lyricist Varun Grover plays a lyricist named Majru, a hat tip to the legendary Majru Sultanpuri. Majru is an artist who recognizes Qala's genius, but like her, he's stunted by the mercenary movie business. When he writes a beautiful couplet, he's told, "Kuch aasan sa likho, logon ko samajh aaye." Anvitaa is a celebrated lyricist herself, and I'm sure that she's experienced some version of this scene. Qala works like an amber-hued fever dream, but at times the storytelling seems to get sidelined by the many checkboxes that the story is trying to tick. The messaging, impressionistic lensing, and symbolic visual choices become too pointed, and the spell gets broken. The moth and snow are recurring motifs. But mostly, Anvitaa succeeds in weaving a gripping tale of societal restriction, sexism, pathological states, the solitude of being an artist, and the many ways in which mothers and daughters can scar each other. The film has an overarching melancholy and an emotional momentum that helps to anchor it, as do the performances. Once again, after Bulbbul, Tripti Dimri takes center stage. This character is a high-wire act, deeply ravaged but also strangely powered by her own neurosis. Tripti gives Qala a childlike guilelessness. There is a scene in the film in which Qala is imitating her mother and attempting to trade sexual favors for career growth. Her seduction is so naive and so awkward that it's heartbreaking. Tripti is marvelous as a woman on the verge of a breakdown and so much more. So is Swastika Mukherjee as Urmila. What's fascinating is that Urmila isn't a straight-up monster. Anvitaa and Swastika allow us to see what perhaps caused her heart to freeze over. She felt to me like a distant relative of Dimple Kapadia's Nina Walia in Luck by Chance. You remember that film in which another character describes Nina as a crocodile in chiffon. Urmila belongs to that same pantheon of fictional female artists who've been so hardened by their circumstances that they know no other way to operate. The third in this triangle is Babil Khan as Jagan. Babil arrives with the legacy of his legendary father Irfan, and I think Qala is a fine choice for the young actor. It allows him to reveal his talent without having to burden himself with carrying the entire film. Babil has a natural screen presence and solid potential. Amit Trivedi's gorgeous soundtrack is also a lead player in the film. The 6 songs have been written by a plethora of award-winning lyricists: Kausar Munir, Varun, Swanand Kirkire, Amitabh Bhattacharya and Anvitaa herself. Singer Shahid Malia's soaring voice adds to the magic. My favorite is Shauq, written by Varun. The mukra goes like this: बिखरने का मुझको शौक है बड़ा, समेटेगा मुझको तू बता जरा. It's exquisite. Varun also gets one of the best moments in Qala. At one point, as Majru, he says to Qala about a sexual predator, आज उसके जैसों की कोई सजा नहीं है, सब देख के अनदेखा कर देते हैं, पर दौर बदलेगा, दौर की ये पुरानी आदत है. That line, like the film, seamlessly blends poetry, pain and politics. You can watch Qala on Netflix. What did you guys think of Qala? Tell me in the comments below, and also tell me what was your favorite song from this lovely soundtrack. And if you want to hear more from the artists and the director of Qala, do check out our interview.